to this channel where we spread love and positive vibes. To the new subscribers and the returning subscribers, I don't take you for granted. Thank you so much. I appreciate you subscribing to this channel, you liking our videos, you commenting down below. I don't take it for granted. And kindly guys, share the video so that we can spread the news about this lad we all love. And today my video is on someone whom I have heard a lot about, especially in the comment section in my videos. People have been talking about him and his contribution to the growth of Jamaica. And I was not aware of the great contribution that this man did in Jamaica. I have heard a lot about him, but I have never taken time to really know what he did to the people of Jamaica. And I happened to be going through some book written about him by someone from Jamaica, and I was really amazed at the work that this man did. And I really wished that we can have such a great man in Kenya, such a great man in Jamaica, such a great man in any country that wants to develop in the whole lot of the world. He did a lot. I could not even imagine that all this was done during his tenure. I'm sure you already know who I am talking about. I am talking about Micheal Manley. Micheal Manley was the fourth Prime Minister of Jamaica. And this guy was born in Jamaica, by the way. He's actually a born Jamaican, and he was actually the second son of Norman Washington Manley and the artist Edna Manley. Micheal Manley happened to have come from a well-off background, we can say, but this guy, I was perplexed at the rate at which he could socialize with the common man. He was not shy to go and actually interact with the poor people in Jamaica, get to know what they want, get to know their sufferings, get to know what they go through in each and everyday life. And that is how Micheal Manley was able to achieve so much in his life. He studied, let me actually give you a bit of his background so that we can understand where did Micheal Manley come from, so that he can develop the interest of knowing the needs of the people, the pain of the people, and actually coming down to the ground to solve the problems that the people of Jamaica were facing. He studied at Jamaica College between 1935 and 1945. He attended Antigua State College and then served in the Royal Canadian Air Force during World War II in 1945. So this guy is a guy who actually fought the World War II, and therefore he knew the pain of the war. He knew the calamities that the war brings. In 1945, he actually enrolled at the London School of Economics. And I tend to think people who have studied economics are very good at building a country, or rather building the economy of a nation. Because I remember we had a president, Mwai Kibaki, who was an economist. And that guy really brought Kenya very far away. And therefore, this is the contribution that Micheal actually did, Micheal actually brought in Jamaica. He returned to Jamaica in 1949 after graduating to serve as an editor. So he was actually an editor and a columnist for the newspaper Public Opinion. So this guy, right away from when he was young, he wanted to know what the public thinks, what is the opinion of the public, and no wonder he was the editor and the columnist for the newspaper Public Opinion. He became involved in trade union movement, becoming a negotiator for the National Workers Union. You know, right from his background when he was young, you can actually see the interest of Micheal Manley. He is always somewhere where there is fighting for justice, fighting for equality, fighting for the rights of the people. And therefore, he became a negotiator for the National Workers Union. He wanted the workers to have a good time as they work for the government, to be satisfied, because Micheal knew that a satisfied workforce can take the economy to the next level. His father was the premier of Jamaica, and Manley actually resisted entering into politics because, of course, he knew that if he entered politics when his father was actually a leader, most people will assume that he wanted to take advantage of the family and rise in the political ladder. And therefore, his father was the premier of Jamaica, but Manley resisted entering into politics so that people don't assume that he has taken advantage of the family leadership so that he can rise up politically. However, he was appointed to the Senate of Jamaica in 1962. And he won the elections to the Jamaican House of Representatives for the Central Kingston constituency in 1967. So, irrespective of the fact that he had refused leadership when the father was a leader, he was later appointed and accepted to be appointed, and later was elected to the Jamaica House of Representatives for the Central Kingston constituency in 1967. After his father retired in 1969, he was elected as the People's National Party leader. Remember that PNP is one of the parties that actually select leaders in Jamaica. There are two parties in Jamaica, and this is one of them. So Manley, in 1969, he was elected as the People's National Party leader after the father retired. He then served as the leader of opposition until the party won the elections in 1972. So when he was appointed, the party, PNP, was not in power. They had already lost to the other party. But he continued serving as an opposition leader until he won the elections in 1972. And this is when the young Micheal Manley started doing wonders in Jamaica. Guys, I have never seen a leader with such a great contribution towards the growth of the economy of his country, towards the growth of the people of his people, towards making life better for the people of Jamaica. His achievement starts by he was very, very social, like I said earlier, and therefore he could mix with people irrespective of their class, irrespective of their background, and he was very, very, very vocal or very, very determined to know the problem the people were facing, and therefore he could go to the rural level to interact with people. He made parliament accessible by abolishing the dress code of men wearing jackets and ties. So during those days, in parliament, men could wear jackets and ties, and therefore people are shying away from going to the parliament. And therefore he abolished this and introduced a dress code by the name Kariba. And this was a suit, a formal suit with bush jacket and suit with trousers and one without a shirt and a tie. In other words, he made people feel comfortable in their wearing so that they cannot feel like they are being tied to the kind of clothes they are wearing as they entered parliament. And therefore, many people are able to access parliament because of the abolishment of the type of clothes that were expected to be worn while one was entering parliament. And therefore, Manley introduced Kariba, a suit, a formal suit, a bush jacket suit with trousers and worn without a shirt and a tie. In other words, he wanted it to be as formal as possible so that people can feel comfortable. He established the minimum wage for all workers, including domestic workers. Most of the times, we see domestic workers are actually oppressed. And therefore, Manley wanted to fight for the people that are put very, very low in the society. And therefore, he established the minimum wage for all workers, including domestic workers. He also proposed introduction of free education from primary to university. And for sure, during Micheal Manley's tenure, education in Jamaica was free from primary to university. You can imagine what this can do to a nation. If education is free, it means that every child will be able to access education irrespective of their background, irrespective of their financial status. And therefore, this was a great breakthrough to the common person in Jamaica. And actually, amongst the great achievements that Micheal achieved, I find this as the best gift he could give to the people of Jamaica. He also introduced adult education to make sure that those who had not gone through education goes through education even though they are old. So apart from making education free from primary to tertiary, he also made, guys, as if that was not enough, Micheal Manley lowered the minimum voting age to 18 and introduced equal pay for women. It's like before then, women in Jamaica could not be paid the same as men. Maybe the Jamaicans in the house, you can tell us what was the difference between the men's salary and the women's salary. So he made equal the payment for women and men. He also introduced maternity leave to the pregnant women so they could go for maternity leave. I don't know whether there was paternity leave, but it is said Manley introduced maternity leave. He also went ahead and actually introduced, or rather abolished the Masters and Servant Act. Remember that Jamaica was already colonized by the British people, and they were the slaves that were being captured from Africa to Jamaica. And therefore, I think this Masters and Servant Act was actually put in place by the colonial masters. And therefore, when Manley came to power, he abolished the Masters and Servant Act and introduced a Labor Relationships and Industrial Dispute Act, provided workers and their trade unions with freedom, with enhanced rights. So the workers and their trade unions were given rights, and therefore he abolished the Masters and Servant Act, whereby the workers were looked like their servants and their employees were the masters. So he abolished this and therefore brought a rapport between the employers and the employees, so that we don't have a master-servant relationship. Apart from that, he had National Housing Trust, which was established, which made many people in Jamaica to own their own houses. What a great achievement. So many people in Jamaica actually owned their own homes by the introduction of the National Housing Trust, and greatly stimulated house constructions, with more houses, more than 40,000 houses built between 1974 and 1980. Within a span of 6 years, 14,000 houses had been constructed. You can see this is a man with a vision, with a mission, a man who has the people's interest at heart. And that is why I started by saying, I wish we can have such a great leader in Kenya, in any country in Africa, and also in the Caribbean. Such great leaders are actually a blessing to a nation. He went ahead and subsidized meals. In other words, he lowered the prices of meals, transportations, and uniforms for school children from disadvantaged backgrounds so that people can be equal. So he introduced the uniform so that everybody can be equal in school, and there are no children who will feel that they are more better than the others. That was a great move by Micheal Manley. He also actually introduced employment programs, launched employment programs and programs to combat illiteracy. So this is also a great achievement by Micheal, as he launched employment programs so that many people in Jamaica can be incorporated into employment, and also introduced programs to combat illiteracy. He was actually doing everything to make sure that all people go through the education system, because he knew education is the background of development in a nation. Apart from that, he increased pension and poor relief were carried out. So he introduced these two reliefs, the pension and the poor relief. He also did reforms of the local government taxation and increasing youth training. So remember that taxation can actually demotivate people who are working for the government, and therefore Micheal introduced the reforms of the local government taxation and increase in the youth training. He also expanded daycare centers. You can see that this guy had a vision for education. He expanded the daycare centers and upgrading of hospitals. So he was actually after the welfare of the people in terms of education and health-wise. Workers participated programs, or rather workers participation programs were introduced together with a new mental health program that would cater for the families in Jamaica. So all this was done by just one man, Micheal Manley. He also introduced, or rather constructed health clinics and paramedical systems in the rural areas so that the people in the rural areas can be catered for health-wise. He spent a lot of money in uplifting the education in Jamaica so that every person in Jamaica had access to education and went through education so that they can be able to uplift the economy of Jamaica. He also did comprehensive rent and price controls so that many people can be able, many people could be able to afford rent and price controls in items like food and all that. He also talked about protection of workers against unfair dismissal, and therefore this was a great thing to the Jamaican people because you could not just be sacked for nothing. He also introduced subsidies in food items and recognized the unions in the workplace. All this combined together brought a happy Jamaican society, a prosperous Jamaican society, and people are looking forward to build their country because they were comfortable in terms of food, they were comfortable in terms of health, they were comfortable in the working places, and they were comfortable in the agricultural produce. And therefore Micheal had a a vision to build a strong Jamaica, had a vision to build a strong people of Jamaica so that Jamaica can go to the next level. But every good person, at one time or another, people remove him from power. So Micheal was actually removed from power by voting by the people of Jamaica, and this happens often. I don't know what is usually wrong with people, because we don't recognize good leaders until they come out of power, and that is the time we start saying so and so was a good leader. And therefore it's my prayer that here in Kenya we will get a Micheal Manley, and Jamaica also, maybe they have a Micheal Manley in the current Prime Minister, or if not, they'll get a Micheal Manley that is going to take Jamaica to the next level. By the way, I think the current Prime Minister of Jamaica is doing well. He has done a lot of projects. I have featured them in this channel: construction of roads, construction of hospitals, construction of airports, construction of harbors, and a lot of construction in real estate. So Jamaica is also doing very well with the current Prime Minister. But we all would want a good leader that will take a country to the next level. So it's a praise to Micheal Manley and any leader that puts the welfare of the people at heart. A very, very great leader. Thank you once again for watching us. See you during the next video. Bye-bye and God bless.